AITA for not reimbursing my nanny for books she bought for my daughter? My daughter, Ruby, is 12. Recently, she has gotten into the original Star Trek show, as well as The Next Generation. Ruby is also a big reader and has started to collect a few of the old Star Trek books that she finds in used bookstores and thrift stores. These books usually cost anywhere from 50 cents to a couple of dollars. My nanny, Tessa, F22, hangs out with Ruby most days after she gets out of school. Tessa has been our nanny for over a year now and she and Ruby get along great. Tessa is big into thrifting and will often keep an eye out for the books Ruby wants. This is not typically a problem and Ruby always pays Tessa back for the books using her allowance. The problem occurred when Tessa went on a family vacation out west. Apparently she went thrifting during this trip and found some books for Ruby. She texted Ruby asking her if she wanted the books and Ruby said yes. Well, Tessa returned yesterday with a stack of about 35 books and told Ruby they cost $50. Ruby doesn't have this much money and told Tessa. Tessa then asked me if I would cover the cost. I said no, as Tessa had never asked me about buying Ruby the books. Nor was I aware of the conversation between the two of them. Tessa got upset and I asked Ruby to show me the text, which made no mention of price or even the amount of books she was buying. Tessa only said that she found some books for Ruby. Ruby is on the autism spectrum and does not read between the lines. You have to be very literal with her. Previously, Tessa has never bought Ruby more than 1 or 2 books at a time. So I told her that she should have clarified with Ruby regarding the amount, or double-checked with me before purchasing, and that I would not be paying the $50. Tessa said she could not return the books because they came from the thrift store. I stood firm in my decision and reiterated that she should have asked me first. Tessa left and Ruby is very upset. I know Tessa is a student and does not have a ton of money, so am I the asshole for not paying Tessa for the books? Edit. Because some people are asking, I am a single parent to Ruby, and while $50 will not make or break the bank, it is definitely an unexpected expense. I provide Tessa with an extra amount of money each month to spend on whatever she wants to do with Ruby, movies, the mall, etc. If she wanted to spend this fund on books for Ruby, that would have been totally fine, but she had already used it up. Sometimes it's better to salvage an important relationship than to be right. Pay for the books. Let Tessa know that you can't do so in the future. Though, without talking about it, tell her how much you appreciate her thoughtfulness, now and always. Tessa, for not double-checking that you'd cover the $50 for your own daughter to read. And you, for not covering a lousy $50 for your own daughter's reading passion. If I were you, I'd suck it up and pay the $50 stat. Or someone is going to scoop up your really thoughtful nanny very soon. I'm thinking of hiring her and I don't even have kids at home. I just want someone to thrift books for me. YTA. Former nanny. Loved my kids to death, and often went out of pocket for them. The parents always tried to reimburse, but I politely declined. However, you might lose a nanny who actually gives a F about your kid. And that's rare. Over $50. Not a smart move. Edit. Your nanny thought she was doing something great for your kid. It's fine to set a boundary after a misunderstanding, but you're really not going to reimburse a young adult who was just trying to encourage and care for your kid. Seriously, think about it. YTA. The nanny that you and your daughter likes while on her vacation thought of your daughter and her interest in specific books and she carried them home. There is no way I'm carry home 35 books for someone, and if she took an airplane, an even bigger effort. Yes, she should have reached out to you to confirm. She made a mistake. You can't look past that mistake and the kindness she is showing your daughter. 35 books is a lot. She was probably excited to add to your daughter collection. Your decision may have just cost you a nanny. NTA with a caveat. The NTA part. It was unreasonable of her to expect a 12-year-old to reimburse her $50 for books without running the cost past either her or you. I found you some books. Do you want them? Quote, yes please. Great. Here they are. That'll be $50. Thanks 12 yo. The caveat. How much had she been paying and having paid back until now? What arrangement did they have? Perhaps you should discuss details with her. Offer to cover it this one time. Then make it crystal clear that in the future, reimbursements will only happen if she checks the amount first. Put everything on the table and make it clear going forward so you can all be comfortable. All feel valued and heard. And you don't lose a nanny who clearly adores your child. NTA who expects a 12-year-old to have $50 to spend on books. And you said you already give her extra money for things like this, but she spent this month's already? She should have asked you before buying them. With that said, you should probably give her the money if you can afford to, because she seems like a great nanny who made one mistake and you, your daughter, could well lose her over this. That wouldn't be fair on your kid. I appreciate the gesture, but I was not expecting this expense. Please let me know next time you are thinking about doing this. I had babysitters who did this repeatedly, and they knew I was a single, widowed mom who had to find childcare for work events that I wasn't paid extra for. One in particular used to send me a pre-work night shopping list. It was really darn hard to tell my kids we can't do XX together, because the babysitter used that part of the budget. I wish I had set firmer boundaries in this. But single parents are literally one of the most at-risk subgroups in the world. It's sometimes terrifying and vulnerable to a mental health crisis extent. If you don't have childcare, you don't have a job, and then let's just stay on the merry-go-round. I never spoke up because of this. It's not okay. Though do agree it may be best to give the $50 and also talk about the boundaries so it's clear for the future. Nah, I would expect more critical thinking from Tessa. 35 books in one go is very different from the other time she bought books for Ruby. Why is she expecting Ruby to have $50 on hand without asking her beforehand? I understand that it's less than $2 per book and a huge save. But it's still a lot of money for a 12-year-old. Tessa could have gifted a part of that heap of books and asked for less money. It would have been lesson learned. She tried to do something good and she forgot to be more responsible about it. You can't afford the $50. That's how life goes. Can you afford to lose that nanny though? NTA. She normally brings Ruby a couple books, which is probably what she was expecting. Ruby is a child. $50 is quite a bit of money to expect a child have on hand. She should have messaged the price number of books to Ruby or you. Especially if she was gonna drop $50. I can't believe the comments here. TBH. NTA. It was inappropriate of her to ask a 12-year-old if she wanted the books. Of course she's going to say yes. Strike 1. It was also inappropriate of her to not ask you. Strike 2. Given your edit. Strike 3. And actually, strike 4 for the fact that she asked your kid for the money first. Honestly, I'd be reconsidering having her as a nanny altogether. This is not something that you do. People. You don't ask a kid if they want something expensive and then stick your hand out for money afterwards. So let me get this straight. In the past she's bought 12 books costing less than $5 at a time. With Ruby she asks Ruby if she wants some books. She buys 35 books for $50 without checking with you. She expects you to pay? Nope. This is not reasonable behavior. She should have been clear about the approximate cost to you and Ruby. I'd be pretty shocked if someone offered to buy me some thrifted books and showed up with 35 without confirming it with me. You just can't do that. NTA. That being said, I think the correct consequence here is for this to come out of the discretionary money for next month. I think this is a fair consequence for Ruby and a good learning opportunity. Don't just say yes to people offering to buy you things without confirming the cost. Definitely sit down with Ruby and talk to her about this and her role in agreeing to the purchase without details. That being said, you will have to balance it by explaining that what Tessa did was coming from a good place but is not the way to handle this, and in that someone with worse intent could try take advantage of her by trying to guilt her to pay for things she didn't agree to. One issue I have with the YTA responses is I think it teaches Ruby a bad lesson about how to handle people demanding money in the future. Especially with her being on the spectrum, I would worry about her being scammed or taken advantage of by other people down the line who may tell her she owes them money for X reason. Also explain your decision to Tessa, and maybe come up with a rule for the future, i.e. confirm any purchases over $10 made on Ruby's behalf with me first. Tell her you appreciate her concern for Ruby and know she had good intent, but that your budget simply can't handle unexpected purchases of this size in the future. I'll be downvoted, but NTA. I think it's extremely in poor taste to basically stick a bill on someone who never agreed to pay it, especially as a single mother. I don't think you'd be wrong to not pay her, but I do agree that if she treats your daughter so well, tell her to please refrain from making any purchases in the future for your daughter without asking you first, then pay her the dollars. YTA. Jesus. You're stingy. You're blessed with a very thoughtful nanny who thinks of your child even when she's not at work. There was a misunderstanding about the cost. All you had to do to behave decently was pay her, but ask her to please confirm amounts with Ruby in the future, and that if it happens again you won't be able to pay for it. So you're NTA for expecting the nanny to clear a significant purchase with you first. I don't know your financial setup or relationship, but I couldn't go out and spend $50 and expect someone to pay me back without an adult first approving it. However, you gotta ask if $50 is worth the grief and stress of finding a new nanny. Personally, I think you'd be better saying you'll pay this one time but all future purchases over $20 must be agreed first. NTA. I'm not sure where all these other comments are coming from. 1. Ruby is a child. Anything that the nanny that you hired and paid for buys for her is to be discussed with you first. She's your employee, not your kid's pal. 2. It really doesn't matter the fact that Ruby is on the autism spectrum. Ruby is 12. You don't just assume that a 12-year-old has $50 to spend, especially when this is for so many books and was out of the norm. 3. Tessa shouldn't be communicating directly with Ruby. This is where you might be at fault. Again, she's your employee and you need to treat her as such. It's not like she's been in your family for decades. It has been 1 year. 4. People saying that op is stingy and just to pay up obviously have to wake up and smell the price of things and how much it costs to raise a child. For most people, $50 is not change lost in your pockets. Emo 100% NTA. But as others have said, you have a great nanny and I really think you should nurture that relationship. She's very invested in your daughter's progress. That's a special quality. I would just pay her and then negotiate a new rule about buying books. Apologize for your negative reaction and let her know that you're on a really right budget and don't have a lot of disposable income. An unexpected purchase of $50 was a bit of a strain. Obviously it's up to you. Someone spending my $50 without permission would shock me as well, but for your daughter's sake, I really think you should just bite the bullet this time. NTA. And I find all the comments claiming the opposite and crying about how it was compassionate of the nanny to go out of their way for something your daughter enjoys, delusional and guilt-trippy. If it was truly an act of compassion, she wouldn't be expecting to be reimbursed. Sure, it's nice that she sees things and thinks to ask, but it should have been common sense that $50 was way over a child's budget, considering that was the arrangement between child and nanny, not nanny and mom. She should have double-checked with you first, and the fact she didn't bother laying out prices for a child was also extremely irresponsible and shady. I wouldn't pay up either. She needs to work something out with a daughter or eat the cost because she didn't think things through at all. Let it be a learning moment for daughter too. Also, Reddit. Just because a single mom can afford a nanny doesn't mean she can also afford a sudden $50 expense. What you would be willing to fork over is irrelevant. There are plenty of things I was compassionate about as a child that my mother would absolutely never even spend $20 towards if it meant that $20 could go to childcare or food on the table. It makes a lot of you look ignorant calling her cheap over something she didn't agree to, if it broke bank or not. NTA. For all the reasons others have given, my advice is to pay Tessa your own money now, and have the money be taken out of Ruby's future allowance, assuming she's okay with it, which it seems like she would be if she loves the books so much. Then I do what someone else suggested and tell Tessa not to buy more books without asking you first. Many people don't understand that $50 is a huge thing for some people. NTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.